I want to talk to you about how to get better at putting. I want you to take charge of your putting. I want you to, from this point onwards, only compare yourself to yourself. Are you making progress? And I'm going to outline in some basic steps how you can take charge of your putting, have a little bit of a plan in place, whatever practice schedule you can stick to. If all you've got time for is 20 minutes a week, 10 minutes a week, or if you're a more serious player with lots more time, it doesn't matter. The outline's going to be the same. How you can take charge of your putting, split it into the sections that matter most, how to get started and what to do. First of all, it's important to know putting is hard. It's a difficult part of the game. Just because we don't lose golf balls and put balls out of bounds, it doesn't mean it's the easy part of the game, like to do well. So go easy on yourself and keep in mind what I said, you're only going to compare yourself to yourself from this point onwards. What anyone else does doesn't really matter. You are on a track to get better at it. So I want you to split putting into different categories and section them. You might want to write these down. So you've got a good setup. For me, that's the foundation to good putting. You've got the 3 core skills of putting. Speed, which I would say is the most important one, but that doesn't mean direction and green reading aren't important. They're just a little bit less important than speed, in my opinion. So we've got read, line and speed as the 3 core skills. A good setup, that is crucial to the foundation of good putting. And then we want also a good mindset, a good attitude towards putting, because, without that, we're probably not going to putt very well either, all right? And then the final sort of thing that we'd work on would be things like, a good routine, and that's kind of related to the mindset. It all helps. So, a good pre-shot routine that you execute on a regular basis, all right? My number one sort of tip, rule in putting would be, if you have a bad narrative around putting, like, so say you've struggled for putting, for years, do you go around telling everybody you're a bad putter? Like, please stop doing that, please. Even if it's true, there's nothing to gain by saying it. All you're doing is feeding that narrative in your mind that I'm a bad putter, I'm a bad putter, I'm a bad putter. You're kind of beat before you even get to the golf course. So by following this stuff that I'm laying out here, by taking charge on your putting as I've described, you are going to change the narrative. I'm not saying you walk around telling everyone you're a good putter if you're not. That's not going to really build fake confidence, I don't think. But at least call yourself, no, I'm working at it. I'm taking action. That's how you talk to yourself, right? So rule 1, don't tell anybody you're a bad putter. There's nothing macho about hitting the ball really well but putting bad. I don't buy into that at all. You will get the golf scores you deserve over the long period, right? So just because somebody hits the ball well and putts poorly, that doesn't mean they deserve better golf scores. We will get the scores we deserve. That's what I love about golf. There's no hiding place. Your score is your score. Yes, on a given day, you might get a bit unlucky or lucky. We tend to get more unlucky than lucky in golf. So scores will fluctuate a little bit. But in the long run, your scores are how well you're playing. That's it. So change the narrative. You're not a bad putter. You are at the very least an improving putter because you're taking action. So how are you going to do this? I want you to write 6 things down. And what you could do is you could even give yourself a score out of 5 for all of these things and see where you feel you need the most attention. But I don't think any of these 6 can be ignored. Number 1 is your setup, the foundation of good putting. I think it's a requirement. You need a good setup. Number 2, and now we're getting into the core skills that I talked about earlier. Number 2, speed control. How's your speed control? Really important to putting. If your speed control is poor, you're going to 3-putt a lot, and that's not going to help your golf scores. So that's the next one. Again, I've got videos on all this stuff. I've even got a putting group you can join via my website. I'll put a link in the description. It's very affordable, and it's got all this stuff laid out in channels with lots of different posts, how you can just categorize things and work on them. So 2, speed control. Number 3, green reading. How's your green reading? Do you see slopes well? Do you get confused by reads, that type of thing? Are you a confident green reader? Number 4, direction. Once you've read a green, are you good at actually sending the ball on the line you choose? A lot of people have a pull bias or a push bias. Again, I've got videos on that stuff too you can watch and try and find out where you are and how to work on it, common problems. A lot of these things do stem back to the setup as well though. So with a better setup, these things can gradually get better. So that's your setup, then your core skills, 3 core skills. The final sort of 2 things, number 5 would be like your kind of strategy, your mindset, and your routines. So that's kind of, do you have that bad narrative telling everybody you're a bad putter, thinking you're a bad putter all the time? So we want to change that. A good mindset to putting, a healthy mindset. I am getting better at this, and I'm gonna, walk on the course a bit more confident. Things like routine. Do you have a good pre-shot routine? I think you don't need a complicated, long, drawn-out pre-shot routine. A simple one that just takes a few seconds that you can just execute every time. Really advise that. And then, yeah, just like general sort of strategy, and do you have good principles around putting? Because there's a lot of old myths that go about that a lot of people still hear and maybe believe in, or they're not sure whether that's a myth or not. So try and consume content from good, knowledgeable people that'll kind of bust these myths. Again, my putting group, and I've got videos on YouTube and everything that'll talk about these things quite regularly, so you can have a look at that for free. The final thing would be your practice. So how much practice can you do? How much do you want to do? Remember, vast majority of people listening to this are hobby golfers. Even if it's a hobby you take quite seriously and want to get better, you still want to be having fun doing it. So how much practice are you willing to do? And I would start small, typically. If you don't do any putting practice, start small. I think, say I'll do 10 minutes a week, because you'll probably end up doing a bit more anyway. And just try and, set a schedule out, whether it's just practicing at home, working on your setup for a few minutes, rolling a few 5-footers on a bit of carpet or a putting mat, that's a lot better than nothing, right? So set out your practice, say I'm going to do, or even you might say, right, I can do an hour of practice a week. I'll do 20 minutes a week in the evenings after work, that type of thing. My very, very last word on this is have fun doing it. Enjoy the challenge. Progress is a human need almost. We feel great when we progress. So remember, you are only going to compare you to you. And if you're making progress, doesn't matter if it's slow progress at all. Most of the long-lasting progress is actually quite slow, and the reason why a lot of people don't make it is because they don't stick with it. So progress is key. You compare you to you and try your best to have fun along the way. Okay, final thing I'm going to ask you is please like the video, comment if you've got any questions, subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out when people subscribe and like the video. And hopefully, I only want you to do it though if you can appreciate you're going to get benefit to your putting from it, okay? And if you can putt better, you're going to shoot lower scores. Thanks.